Hi, my name is Beth Davison, and I'm in a class where I wanted to do a video on something I'm passionate about. And I've been cooking for a long time, since I'm probably 16 years old, and I've always loved it, and I've always done it as a way of relaxing. So many times when I used to live in New York, and I was working in the city, and I used to get home from Wall Street at like 1, 2 in the morning after a long day of work. I couldn't really fall asleep, so I would start cooking at 2, 3 in the morning just to use it as a form of therapy. It's a way of relaxing. So I'm going to show you why I'm so passionate about cooking. And I had a grandmother that was a big cook and a cousin that was a big cook, and I think I got cooking from them because whenever I tried to ask them for a recipe, they never had it. They always just kind of said, well, it's just in my head. So I started kind of cooking when I didn't have things. I would just look in the fridge and kind of figure it all out. I try to start with a recipe, but I usually change it. So the recipe I'm doing today, what I'm doing right now is I actually got it off of Epicurious. It's called Mama Lucia's Chicken Cacciatore. And I've changed a bunch of the ingredients. I kind of still refer to it. I got this in March of 1995 and I still use this recipe. But it never tastes the same twice because I kind of just keep throwing different things in, but it's basically the same. So what I'm going to start with is first, the very first thing that I do is I always, these are chicken breasts. I always use boneless chicken breasts. I don't use boned because I like, my whole family, including myself, really likes boneless. We don't like to deal with the bones. So the first thing you do with chicken is you always pound it. I did pound these a little bit, and I also like them in smaller pieces because it cooks much faster. So here I'm just pounding the chicken, and I always kind of put a little flavoring on my chicken. I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to get rid of the pounder. So I just take a little bit of salt and pepper. I kind of just put it on the chicken just to give it a little bit of flavoring. And a lot of the tools you're going to see me using are actually Pampered Chef tools because I've been doing Pampered Chef for a long time and I love all their stuff, and so I use all their stuff. So I kind of already seasoned the other side, and then I just kind of dip it in flour just to give it a little bit of coating. So we're going to do that quickly with all the different pieces of chicken. And like I said, I like smaller pieces. It's a way to feed my entire family because they don't, and cooks a little bit faster, and when you pound it, your meat cooks a little bit faster too. So this will take a second. We're just kind of tossing it in here. And then we're going to, and in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up. And I do make a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. And I love this mat that I'm using because then you can just use it. And look, you can just pick it up and it goes with you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some olive oil. Let me just kind of rinse off my hands a little bit from the raw chicken. Okay, and we're going to take some olive oil. I love using olive oil. That's probably the oil I always use. And then just going to heat it up a little bit. It's always good to kind of heat up your, there we go. And then we're going to heat up. And a lot of people say, how do you cook so well? Now you can follow a recipe if you want to, but the biggest thing I've always found is the type of tools you use. And this is a great 12-inch skillet that I love, and it heats it completely evenly. And what we're going to do is we're going to start putting in the chicken. You really should wait till it sizzles up a little bit, but okay, so we're going to just keep putting in the chicken. And the reason why I love this 12-inch skillet is because you can fit, wait till you see how much chicken I'm going to be able to fit in this great pan. And now we're going to take this, get rid of it. And this is some that I had done earlier today, just to kind of get it going. It also has the flour and the salt and pepper. And this is all done, and this is something that doesn't take long, but it will make a big difference that you have a little bit of a layer on your chicken. Give it a little bit more taste. This has all been pounded, like I said, and that's about it. And look at all this awesome chicken. I have 3 pounds of chicken in this skillet, which is good because my family, we love leftovers. So you could cook it once and eat it twice. I ain't gonna fit the last piece, and they're gonna shrink a little bit, so. All right, and I kind of put it on a medium-high heat. Okay, so now as that's getting started, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with, because that's gonna take a little bit of while to cook. Actually, I'm gonna put it on the back burner. And I love using a gas stove. It makes a big difference to me because you can actually see the flame. So in the meantime, I'm gonna get my other skillet out, and I'm gonna start kind of sauteing up the mushrooms. Now, I know it says to put it all in the same skillet, but I kind of like doing things all at the same time. Because for me, with my busy schedule in life and a lot of other people, you kind of just want to do things quickly. So here we go, just heating up. And now I already sliced up most of these mushrooms. Now we're just going to put all the mushrooms. I love mushrooms in this. Wonderful. And this is going to get started. And now we have the mushrooms ready to saute. And then this recipe actually asks for, chicken broth, but we like a little texture to most of our food, at least I do. When I'm saying we, I'm talking about my kids and my husband. So what I did is I'm kind of, I had already cooked a little bit of the, I made some chicken soup with some noodles in it, and I'm going to be adding that to my recipe in a little bit of time. So that was already done, a little bit earlier. Okay, so look, the chicken is already starting to, you're going to start to see that it's heating up and everything's cooking, and then we're going to get the mushrooms. We're going to take a little bit with a little bit of olive oil. And I love sauteing. I saute mushrooms and onions and love to saute vegetables. Okay, we're going to get a wooden spoon. Just start letting it cook. A lot of people use butter. I happen to use olive oil. I just think it's fun, fresher, easier to use rather than the fat of the butter. I just like olive oil, and it gives it a lot of flavor. So that's all you have to do. I might add a little bit more olive oil as it goes along. And as you can see, the chicken is already cooking away. And in a minute, I am going to, you only need, because of the pounding that I did, and I cut the chicken thin, it's going to be like a couple minutes on each side. And then that's going to be done. So while we're waiting for the two things, I'm always doing something else while things are cooking. So I also love to cook with onions. Onions give a ton of flavoring. And I love onions, but the problem with onions is, oh, I have a few more mushrooms here. Maybe I'll add that later. Okay, the thing I love onions, but I usually tear a lot. And I hate tearing with onions. So I have this great tool from Pampered Chef that I absolutely love. It's going to make a little bit of noise in a minute. It's called my food chopper. This is what I'm saying about using the right tool. So check this out. You want to be able to chop onions in 2 seconds. Look at that. Everything gets chopped up. So I could chop up an onion in just a few seconds. I'm going to do this. Here everything's sizzling away. Alright, look at this. All my onions are going to be done in about 2 seconds, and now we're just going to, everything smells and looks delicious. And you kind of know when these are done. I kind of just do the mushrooms first, and then I'll throw the onions in with the chicken as soon as the chicken gets cooked. And let's take a little look at the chicken. All right, looks delicious. So, let me get a fork and I'm going to flip it. Okay, let's flip over all the chicken. Look at that, perfect. Delicious. Okay, perfect. And it all fits in this one skillet. So, the next thing we're going to do is, I'm going to refer to my recipe, but I'm not really sure if I have all the ingredients. I guess I should check ahead of time most of the time, but sometimes I forget. I'm going to start. The thing about good cooking also is, what I learned is to use as much fresh vegetables, and we have peppers that I'm going to throw in. I try not to use anything frozen. I try to have it all fresh, especially this time of year, spring, summer. You can find fresh herbs and it makes a huge difference. I am unfortunately going to be using a little bit of dried oregano, and that's only because of I don't have any fresh oregano right yet, and I didn't run to the store to get it. So, all right. There we go. Let's just make it good. Okay, there we go. See how much chicken I could get into this, and it's cooking so fast. Alright, I think the mushrooms are just about done. I'm going to lower the heat a little bit, which is why I love having my gas stove. Perfect. Look at that. Okay, so remember I told you I usually forget something? I saw the oregano sitting on the side here. So I just put a little pinch of oregano just to add a little bit of flavor. Unfortunately, it's not fresh, but it will have to do. When you're using fresh, you use less. When you're using, dried, like dried basil, dried oregano, dried herbs, you put in a little bit more to give it the same flavoring. So I'm glad I remembered, because otherwise at the end, I would have just had to add the oregano. No big deal, but like I said, most of the time I'm forgetting something, and that tonight it was the oregano. But I saw it sitting there. Okay, another minute or two for it to cook. Look how delicious this is getting. It's all cooking together. Okay, so as you can see, it's perfect. And I'm going to add back the mushrooms. And I'm looking at my recipe because, like I said, many times I kind of refer to it because I forget things. So now I'm going to add the other mushrooms that I sauteed earlier. Okay, and this is the fun stuff. So now we're going to add some of the chicken soup that I made. Now I'm adding, the recipe calls for chicken broth, but I use chicken soup. Okay, and now, let's see. We have to add the marinara sauce. Let's put the fire back on. Just put it kind of low to medium again, as you can see. Let's start a fire. That wouldn't be good. Now we're going to add some of the delicious Rayo sauce. I'm not really using the whole jar. In fact, one time I put in vodka sauce by accident. Actually, I am using the whole jar. See, I told you I kind of just go with it. All right, and now let's mix all this up together and let it all blend. So this is the cacciatore sauce. Sometimes if I want to thicken it up a little bit more, I'll add some tomato paste to it. Not sure I have that in the house. I might have to go look, because maybe I put in a little bit too much soup. Okay, so how does that look so far? I think it looks pretty delicious. And once it all blends together and maybe gets to a little bit of a boil, I'm going to add the chicken, put a cover on, and let it simmer for a while so all of it blends together. And the longer it sits with chicken cacciatore, the more delicious it is, because everything blends together. So I think that's it. I don't really put capers in. We don't love capers. And then if people want to add some Parmesan cheese later, then we can do that too. Okay, so this is pretty much it. Let me just raise it up so it can start to boil. Once it starts to boil, I'm gonna put back the chicken and then we're going to just let it sit. Okay, so now it's boiling away. And what I'm doing is I'm adding all the chicken that we had already cooked earlier. And we're adding it to that sauce. So now I'm continuing to adding the chicken and I'm gonna spoon over this delicious sauce so it can soak through. I am so hungry right now, I could eat it, but it tastes so much better. Like when you just let it sit for a while and it sits in the juices and it simmers. So we're gonna do this for about 20 minutes and you can eat it, but I actually let it sit a lot longer. Plus it's not really dinner time yet. So my kids are here smelling this delicious food and they can't have any. We're gonna eat it tonight for dinner. All right, so now I'm gonna cover it. All right, so much better. And I also love this cover, you know why? Because you can actually see what everything looks like when you're cooking. So it's all going to come to a little bit of a boil, which you can see, and I'll keep spooning, and you'll kind of come back to it every once in a while, spoon it, just to make sure the sauce stays on top of the chicken. And if I don't think I have enough sauce, I might add a little bit more, but I have a lot of sauce here. So this looks really, really good. I think it's perfect. And you can always add salt or pepper or a couple other seasonings if you feel that it doesn't have enough taste to it. All right, so I'm so excited. I can't wait to eat it. I'm sure my family can either. And we'll show you the finished product later. Okay, so now we're done. And I'm here to show you, I just platered it. And I'm taking the sauce, and how delicious does this look? And what you could do is you can have like a salad with it. You can put it over rice. You can put it over pasta, depending whatever your mood is. I personally just love it with a salad, maybe a piece of Italian bread or garlic bread, and maybe some green vegetables, maybe something like green beans or asparagus. And there's so many vegetables that are in here. It is such a delicious, filling, healthy meal. So thanks so much. I enjoyed doing this video and I hope you see how much I love to cook. And maybe next time when you can't fall asleep or aren't ready to go to bed and want to do something fun and then you get a great meal out of it, you might want to cook something in the middle of the night like I do. Okay, take care, bye.